communities. We're going to ensure that all councillors report on the IDP process or progress on a quarterly basis. It can't be that each and every year communities are unaware or are unaware of the program or progress that has been made with regards to the IDP. On the second pillar, which is to enhance local economic development that supports job creation and development, we need to stress that the problems that we face in our country, we've got a youth unemployment that is sitting at more than 75%. We're having more than 55% of the population living at under 992 rands per month. The expanded definition of unemployment, it is 43%. Therefore, the municipalities must intervene in order to deal with the national crisis. It can't be that the problems of unemployment has been left to the national government for intervention, whereas the local government in their respective localities should intervene and make sure that there are programs that are done in each respective locality for the job creation. Bendizocela siphakame and welcome our spiritual father. Siyabulele. We welcome you, Mthatha. We are going to make sure as the ATM that all of these economic challenges that are being faced in our country, we intervene and we intervene decisively. One of the first things that we are going to do, we are going to make sure that we are able to transform the township and the rural economy in order to diversify the methods in which people can participate in the economy. One of the challenges that are being faced in our country, there is a heavy reliance on the formal employment. Whereas if you look at other countries, they focus on the artisan or the informal or the merchant economies in order to deal with the national crises of unemployment. In Kenya, the unemployment, it is sitting at less than 5%, and 82% of the total employment in the country comes from the rural and the township economy. We are going to upskill and assist with access to emerging farmers to ensure that they've got access to all retailers in their respective localities, in the sense that it cannot be that a retailer here in Mthatha sources 100% their fruit and vegetables from outside of the province, whereas there are emerging farmers in their respective localities. There needs to be government intervention to make sure that all retailers are able to make use of the local emerging farmers in their respective localities to make sure that they get to participate in the economy and they get to benefit from all economic activities in their respective spaces. We are going to drive the transformation of towns such as Port St. John's and Coffee Bay to be world-class tourist destinations, because tourism is one of the industries that can attract revenue. And you find that because there are current tourist attractions in those areas, but there is no transformation that is done to make sure that all of these towns are able to be transformed to be world-class tourist destinations. We're going to make sure that we attract investment in order to open and reopen factories in each and every district. These factories will have a sole mandate of producing basic goods. These basic goods are goods that are produced, or those are the goods that are utilized on a daily basis. Now, in order to make sure that we diversify the players in the economy, we need to make sure that the people in OR Tambo get to benefit from the economy of OR Tambo. The people of Alfred Nzo, the people of Waterberg, the people of Sikukune, by making sure that the basic goods are produced in those respective localities. In our country, there will be areas whereby there are mines, meaning there will be mining economy for those areas. There will be areas whereby there is fertile land. In those areas, there's going to be agricultural economy. There's going to be areas whereby there are coastal cities. In those areas, we are going to utilize the ocean economy. However, we need to put it very clearly, is that wherever there is a group of people, because those group of people, one way or the other, they need to make use of basic goods in order for them to make a living. In other words, when you're talking about the retail economy, you are talking a retail economy that is there each and every corner of our country. South Africa has got an unfortunate reality of being a consumer country. We are just consumers. Even the mere toothpick we import from China. So by ATM ensuring that we open these factories, we are going to make sure that we become a manufacturing hub and jobs are created. You will remember pre-1994, almost all homelands had these factories. That is why around in OR Tambo, there was Magwati, which is still around, which was the preferred tea in the area. Now, what we're saying as the ATM, the basic goods such as your matchsticks, your brooms, your bread, all of these basic goods must be produced in the respective localities in order to deal with the problem of unemployment. This will help the country so that people, for them, in order to participate in the economy, they do not need to emigrate into Joburg or Cape Town or Durban. However, they'll be able to benefit from the economy in their respective localities. We are going to make sure that we prioritize cooperatives and SMMEs as a means of making sure that meaningfully in the economy. When you're talking about cooperatives, you're talking about arrangements that allow various people to participate in the economy. However, one of the biggest challenges is that there is no access to market for many SMMEs and cooperatives. That is why the ATM has to intervene by engaging some of these institutions that are there in those respective spaces, in the sense that there are schools all over the country, but you find that the uniforms are not produced or they are not sold in those respective areas. Their uniforms are produced outside of those respective localities. There are feeding schemes whereby the cooperatives are not benefiting. The cooperatives of those localities are not benefiting. That is why, as the ATM, we are going to intervene to make sure that all economic activities in the areas are able to benefit the people in those respective localities. And lastly, we are going to make sure that all municipal bylaws and trading regulations are enforced, because South Africa is not a banana republic. We need to make sure that, because politics is all about making sure that whatever that has been said and done politically is translated into law. Now, once the political ideas are not made law, then there's no system or mechanism to enforce your political ideas. That is why we need to make sure that all trading and municipal bylaws are respected and enforced to make sure that we are able to enforce our political ideas. On the third pillar, which is to provide integrated, sustainable settlements supported by reliable basic services and infrastructure, we need to note that the demand for housing in our country is ever increasing. That is why you are going to see informal settlements being built almost each and every day, because there's a high demand of housing. Therefore, the housing that we are talking about as the ATM, it is a housing that encompasses all basic necessities, in the sense that it must not be housing whereby people need to go outside of the house in order for them to make use of the law. We need to make sure that the housing are decent and provide dignity for all citizens. We also need to make sure that there are places of worship, there are places of economic activity, because one of the difficulties that many South Africans are subjected to is that places of economic activity are very, very far from the places whereby the people live. That is why more than 80% of South African workers spend more than 55% of their income just on a taxi fare, because the places of economic activity are very far from where they live. So ours as the ATM is to make sure that it is not just a house, but it is a house that is close to all economic activity. It is housing that is close to areas whereby people can access safe drinking water, sanitation, and etc. So what we're going to do as the ATM, we're going to integrate residential housing provisions in all neglected areas, such as informal settlements, hostels, rural areas, to make sure that the people in those areas are able to live in dignified houses. We're going to improve municipal capacity to ensure ongoing maintenance of road, water, supply, sewerage facilities, and other municipal infrastructure. And I need to stress on this point that on the question of whether we need to do away with tenders, as the ATM was saying, there needs to be a balance, because for capital projects, you cannot live or do without tenders for capital projects. However, for operational projects such as maintenance, they must be insourced so that the municipalities have got the capacity to fix all of the infrastructure of the buildings they own. It can't be that even to fix a pothole, a municipality is going to issue a tender. Whereas there are so many qualified people who can be employed by the municipality in order to deal with the maintenance of each and every infrastructure of the municipality. As the ATM, we're going to upgrade old municipal-owned buildings to social housing facilities, and we are going to expropriate deserted, hijacked buildings for public good. In many areas, we find that there are so many municipal-owned buildings which are deserted and they are not used for public good. That is why you are saying as the ATM, those deserted or hijacked buildings must be upgraded in order to provide social housing for deserving people in their respective areas. We are going to make sure that as the ATM, we fulfill our commitments, because as I've said earlier on, we are not in a space of making promises. We are just here to provide clarity of what is our commitments, because we've already showcased to each and every South African that we're a party that can be trusted with their vote. On the fourth pillar, which is to capacitate and skill communities with a focus of empowerment on youth, women, and people living with disability. We need to state as the ATM that our thinking is that there needs to be holistic development of communities. There must not be development whereby some people are excluded from development, in the sense that otata, omama, abantwana, people living with disabilities, everyone must be developed as in our country. However, we're alive to the realities that when you're talking about the people with disabilities, those people with disabilities and youth and women are somewhat neglected people. That is why there's a special focus on them in order to make sure that we do get everyone to be on par when it comes to development. It is our thinking that each and every household as an ATM must have a provider. Each and every house in our country, in our municipality, must have a person that is working, or must have a person that is able to provide for their families. That is our commitment as the ATM. So we are going to increase the entrepreneurial culture, business capabilities, technical skills and talents amongst young people. We are going to capacitate youth, women and people living with disabilities so that they are able to participate meaningfully in the economy. We are going to provide support to SMMEs and cooperatives by increasing their access to market, finance and non-financial support. On the fifth pillar, which is to promote healthy and environmentally protected community, the reality in our country is that more than 42 million South African citizens do not have a private health care. They are dependent on a public health care. That is why it is critical that the health care that is provided in our country, number one, the quality of it needs to be increased. Secondly, the access needs to make sure that people do not need to walk distances and distances in order to access, at the very least, a clinic. It cannot be that some of these clinics, they are so far from people, so much effect that if a person falls ill in the evening, they will wait up until the morning in order for them to go to a clinic. That is why, as the ATM, we are going to monitor the surveillance of water quality and availability that is intended for human consumption, recreational and industrial use. We are going to provide an efficient service for removal and disposal of domestic, industrial, builders' rubble and waste refuse. We are going to employ, as the ATM, health inspectors to make sure that each and every establishment complies with the respective legislation when it comes to the goods that are being sold to the people. We know that some of these establishments, they change the labeling. If something had expired on the 25th of March, they are going to change the date to say it's going to expire on the 15th of April in order for them not to lose those products. And some of the traders in our country either sell rejected or expired or even fake goods. And the health inspectors must be employed to make sure that all South Africans, their consumption, they are protected in terms of the law so that they do not consume goods that are rejected or goods that have already expired. On the two other areas, in terms of how we are going to do this, we are going to elevate the role and the value of traditional and religious affairs. We know that in our country, religious and traditional leadership has been made to be a non-entity, and this is an anomaly in an African country. It can't be even in other first world countries like Britain. If the Prime Minister or the Parliament of Britain wants to go to war, they cannot go to war without the blessing or the approval of the Queen, which is the monarch in that particular country. Now you find that in our country, the traditional leadership have been relegated into spectators in the governance of their own people. And as the ATM, we are very alive to the reality that there are people that are spreading unfounded rumors or basically lying to the people of our country, saying religion and politics do not mix. That is something they are using in order to micromanage the people and keep them out of the governance of the people. That is why we as the ATM are going to elevate particularly the traditional and the religious leaders, because they are neglected in our country and we cannot do without our traditional and religious leaders. That is why you find that in our country currently, we've got a very high problems of moral degeneration. It is because the people who shape our moral being have been relegated to be non-entities. And you find that the very same government will come to the people and say, let us pray for these moral problems to go away, or let us invite religious leadership to assist us, whereas they are part and parcel of the problem by making sure that our religious leaders as well as traditional leaders are not given a meaningful role. And this is something that is very problematic, because if you compare the role that is being played by NGOs in our country versus the traditional leadership, you could see that the NGOs are given a very high responsibility of value in our country, whereas the people that have an important role to play, which is our traditional and religious leaders, are not given any role. As the ATM, we are going to intervene on that part. We are also going definitely to prioritize or to look at the neglect that the African indigenous churches are subjected to. Because if you look at the history of our country, before 1994, these indigenous churches were not given any role to play in our country. They were not given any form of support. If they are going to have any form of an event or an activity, they fund it from their own pockets. They are not given free land in order for them to build their own halls, etc. However, that is not the same when it comes to mainline churches. Even in the roles that are being played in our governance, it is the mainline churches that are given prominence more than the African indigenous churches. And what we're saying as the ATM, that it cannot be that there are certain classes or certain people that are going to be neglected and they are going to be made to be of less value in our country. That is why we are going to focus on the neglected and marginalized African indigenous churches, so that they do belong in our country and they are given a tangible role to play in our society. What we are going to do as the ATM, we are going to ensure that there must be full adherence to Section 81 of the Municipal Structures Act of 1998, which states that there must be involvement and full participation of traditional leaders in the IDP process. We are going to make sure that councillors are held accountable for governance and clean administration by traditional leaders in their respective localities. You can't be a councillor of this particular ward knowing very well about lo mhlaba lona ngumhlaba wenkosi ethile, but you do not account to inkosi yalo mhlaba. As the ATM, we are going to make sure that the councillors will account to the traditional leaders. We do not subscribe into this governance system that places politicians above traditional leadership, because that is the main reason why the country is in such a mess. You have people that have got no authority, they've got no anointment. However, they are being placed at a very high level as compared to our traditional leadership. That is why, as the ATM, what we're saying is that kulo mhlaba wenkosi lo sikuwo, all councillors must be held accountable by their respective traditional leaders. And we are going to make sure that traditional leaders play an oversight role in the development in their respective localities. You can't, as a traditional leader of a particular area, ubone sokwakhiwa indlela, ubone sokusenza into ezininzi, and the people are going to say we are government or we are the councillors. You need, as a traditional leader, to be given your space, because Gumhlaba lona that has been given to you, not only by otatomkhulu bethu, but by uThixo who designed the institution of traditional leadership. We are going to make sure that amakomkhulu onke are made hubs of rural and community development. It can't be that ikhona ikomkhulu in an area and the councillors in those respective areas, they do not know which area they must center the development in. That is why we are saying all great places must be made hubs of development in all respective areas. On the last enabler, which is to promote peace, justice, safety, and security, we understand that South Africa is a country that is at war with itself. It is something that is very problematic in the sense that crime has gotten so much out of hand to an extent that people, when omama, they sing a song or they chant slogans saying, "Am I next?" Because the reality is that the brutal murdering of young women has escalated in our country. The problems that we have when it comes to crime is that kukhule ubulwanyana obukhulu ngendlela okunganyamezelekiyo. That is why the enabler is that we cannot be able to provide quality of life without dealing with the problem of a crime in our country. And the problem here crime is that it affects abantu even spiritually, psychologically, because each and every day we hear about families being butchered in our country. We hear about young women being slaughtered as if they are animals. And that has got an impact of damaging our being as the people. That is why you are saying that as the ATM, there needs to be a focus in terms of dealing with this problem of an increasing crime, because regardless whether we could have a stable economy, we can have jobs, but if there's a very high crime rate, you are unable to enjoy yourself, you are unable to enjoy everything that you do because you are always worried about crime. There's a problem that we face in our country of drugs being easily and readily available. In all corners, we find that drugs, even close to schools, drugs zikhona readily available. And that creates an unfortunate reality whereby ogogo bethu, omama bethu, they need to contend with their grandchildren coming to their respective homes, babe zizilwanyana, because they want to go and buy more drugs. That is why we need to deal with the problem of drugs. We need to deal with the problem of human trafficking. It can't be that South Africa is amongst one of the top 10 countries on the index of human trafficking, not only in Africa, but in the entire world. We've got a problem and we need to fix this problem. So what we're going to do as the ATM, we're going to make sure that the community policing forums are enabled and they are able to operate in their respective spaces, because each and every criminal inendawo ahlala kuyo. That is why each and every community must have a community policing forum that is assisted by the municipalities in order to discharge the duties of bringing safety in the respective areas. We are going to make sure that local government has community law enforcement officers that are capacitated, fully resourced, and enhance effective community policing and safety. We are going to work together with law enforcement agencies to lead the fight against drug, child, and human trafficking. We are going to establish and enhance moral regeneration programs that aim at curbing the increase of gender-based violence as well as drug abuse. And we are going to ensure that the police get to be sensitized on the issues of gender-based violence and rape. It can't be that a woman goes to a police station to report any crime there. And when they are there to report any crime, the police officer will ask, why have you not forgiven this person? why ningathethisani niyilungise lento endlini. That is the main reason why some of these problems get to increase, because some of the issues of gender-based violence, some women are unable to report them because of the system that makes it difficult for them to actually report in those respective police stations. We also need to deal with the problem whereby otata are the ones going to the police station. When they are going there to report, amapolisa bahleke and they make mockery of another person's pain. We need a police system that will ensure justice, not a police system that will further aggravate the problem of gender-based violence. Because it's gender-based violence, it is gender-based violence. It is not violence against women or violence against abantwana. Violence is violence, regardless whether the perpetrator is a male, ngumntana, okanye ngumama. We are going to improve as the ATM service delivery and accountability at local government in order to avoid and reduce a service delivery protest. So that is what we're saying should be done as the ATM, that in our respective municipalities, we've got these 5 anchors and these 2 enablers that are going to make sure that the people do get to be served. As the ATM, we want to commit that we are going to be a government of the people, by the people, for the people. We are not going to be a government of the people for a particular party, because the ATM will serve each and every person. We won't have municipalities governed by ATM, whereby if a person wants a job, they will be asked, where is your membership card? We are going to serve each and every person, irrespective of their political affiliation, religion, or status. And we need to put it out there that South Africans must stop the votes for cash mentality, because that is the main reason why poverty is ever increasing, because your vote is bought by a few 50 rands. And after being given that 50 rands, the people that bought your vote do not feel accountable to you because they've already purchased you. South Africans must vote to transform their communities. It can't be that South Africans have got an opportunity now to put in place caring governments, caring municipalities, but they will vote for cash and later on go and protest, destroy infrastructure, instead of voting out the people they do not want. What we are saying is that now is the time for people to vote to be empowered. Because when you are empowered, you've got control over the government. The government becomes your servant. That is how the government is designed. A government or a municipality is designed to be a servant of the people. That is why it is critical that we need to make sure that as the ATM, we empower communities, we empower people. That is why you find in our country, the people that are currently ruling our country, they will not go and campaign in the areas where the rich and the wealthy live. They will go to the villages and the rural areas because they've got power over them, because the people are not empowered, because they are unemployed and they are impoverished. As the ATM, what we're saying is that you as a person that is living in a village, you as a person living in a township, you as a person living in any corner of our country, you deserve empowerment. You deserve to be treated with dignity, ngokulinganayo. It can't be that you are going to be treated as a second-class citizen because you are unemployed and the ruling party only sees you as a person they can bring you a food parcel or a grant only after 5 years, and they will leave you and come back after 5 years. As the ATM, what we're saying is that now is the time for you to vote for e-servants, people that will serve you each and every day of your living so that your quality of life can be improved. And we need to state that God did not create people to be dependent. God gave people the capabilities for them to actually work and be able to babakwazi ukubenefita from the strength of ukusebenza kwabo. Now, the problem that we face in our country, there is no platform that has been there, that has been set aside to make sure that the people get to be empowered and the people get to participate meaningfully in the economy. And now the platform Econa, and that platform is the ATM. People of South Africa, on the 1st of November, you need to go out in numbers and vote for this party that will ensure that you are empowered and you participate meaningfully in the economy and you get to live dignified lives. As I conclude, servants, now is the time for us to work and to work very hard. When God created this party, he knew very well that South Africans are broken-hearted because poverty, crime, unemployment breaks each and every person's soul. That is why kufuneka sinyanisekile. We need to go to the people knowing that we are the answer to people's problems. We need to go to people sizinikeze thina umfuneka sizazi ukuba we need to hold each other in very, very high standards because we are not like other political parties. Ours, it is not to go out and we speak ill of other political parties. That is not our mandate. Our mandate is to ensure that the people of South Africa understand that now is a time for a party that is caring, a party that is God-centered to take over, a party that will take care of each and every South African. That party is the ATM. So when we go out, servants, if there's one thing that I humbly ask that you do, xa ningena emzini, ningaphumi without udlulisa ilizwi lentsikelelo. Because abantu uhlobo abaphuke ngayo emphefumlweni bayalidinga elalizwi elizothi uThixo ukhona kuzolunga sanulahla ithemba. We need to restore hope to the people by making sure that our godly element is not taken sifake ngaphansi kwetafile. There's only one party that is unapologetic about being God-centered, and that is the ATM. Amandla ethu akuThixo. Ukuba thina sihleli kuThixo, which is our strength and our source, sizothi singena ezindlini abantu babethelwe ngumbilini because kungene izithunywa zikaThixo. Ukuze uThixo ahlale ngaphakathi kwethu, servants, let us understand we are going to face all manners of challenges. One of the challenges we face is that IEC even interfered with some of our list processes in order to create discomfort within our organization. And we are not the only party. Other parties as well have got that similar challenge. We need to understand that we need to be leaders. And as leaders, whenever there are discomforts, whenever kukwizinto that make people to be uncomfortable, ours is to make sure that we make people understand that the work that we are doing now is not about makubhenefite thina. We are ensuring that we recover and we restore South Africa so that the future generations to come ziyakwazi ukubenefita from their own country, which is South Africa. Therefore, masingahambi ngento ezofuna uba makubhenefite thina okanye sibe short-sighted, but masazi ukuba our mission is for the benefit of future generations to come. And all of the challenges that we are going to face must make us to be stronger, must make us ukuba singaphaphazeli, must make us ukuba singawatshazeli, must make us ukuba masihlale somelele kuThixo, masihlale sithembane, masihlale siqinisekise ukuba we stay focused on our mission. If there's one thing that we need to understand, servants, whenever uzothi uThixo, trust me, uSatan will find his way to le ndawo ibiza ngoThixo. So some of the challenges that we are going to face are as a result of uSathana who understands ukuba xa enokhe angene ngaphakathi kwethu angayidestabilize yonke le ATM. That is why it's critical ukuba masingalibali ukuba singobani na. Ukuba thina silibele ukuba siyinzala sidalwe nguThixo then siphumile kwi-ATM. Kufuneka abantu babone ngehambo yethu ukuba le ATM indeed is a party kaThixo. Bazoyibona abantu ngokubetha kolwimi lethu kuba bazobona uba le nto niyithethayo inevumba elimnandi. Zange tusabona ii-politicians ezinyaniseke njengani. So, servants, let us go out in numbers and campaign. We are not going to sleep. Asuzulala i-ATM ingekaphathi. Whether kuyanetha okanye kutsha amalanga noba kungakhona umkhenkce akho nto siyoyikayo asinavalo sizoyisebenza i-ATM. And i-ATM kufuneka siyisebenze siseziwodini. Noba umuntu ngupresident we-ATM ufuneka phaa ewodini because ivotela u-local government elections. Wonke ubani must be phaa eziwodini. That is why le ngoma ithi sisebenza siseziwodini. Kufuneka ifinde i-resonance apha ngaphakathi kwethu. Sazi ukuba that is where people reside. Abantu abahlalanga eGauteng okanye bahleli ku-national, bahleli in a particular ward. If we are going to make a difference, let's make sure that each and every ward in our country has got multitudes and multitudes of ATM voters. Sisebenza eziwodini. I thank you.
Peace in our lifetime. Siyabulela kakhulu. Kwakhona masibulele, samkele, si appreciate ubukho of our spiritual father, uProfessor Sino Nqunga. I think nimbonile xa engena sixakene nento apha imvula singaseva nobupresident wethu uthini na. Uthe uba angene phaa yazityela yazitshele cwaka imvula kwavela ilanga. Ke thina ke siyiqhelile loo nto and siyayinothisa xa isenzeka. Bese sibu-comfortable uba hayi sawubamamela etivini le nto ithethwa ngupresident ngoba simva le mvula iyangxola. Wathi umzali hayi umntana manizumenza loo nto lasiye lathi ndwa ilanga. Ngobulilanga lokulunga siyakubulela mzali and we appreciate ubukho bakho. I'm going to hand over to our poet to give us a poem yakhe ngoku. Ibe esiba ready uMaskand ngelixesha kodwa ningamngxoleli ipoet yethu because the reason why simane simmisa up it's because sine tendency to move around as a result singayiva the message that she's trying to give to us. So uMaskand makabe ready phaa kodwa angasondeli until agqibe. Immediately after uMaskand sizawuza kuni tatugaba. Bawugaba zimbini into ecela undenzele zona andizuphinda ndiphakama. Uzawuhlokomisa le ndlu izive uba inethemba elinikwe ngupresident wayo ukuya evotini ukuyokhampeyina. Wawugqiba uphakamise our spiritual father to give us the words of wisdom. Ndenzela uba ke wonke umuntu ame ngendima yakhe. Over to you, sister.
a young, well-natured leader, a leader of no promises but of action. Inkokheli engathandabuziyo ngoba unkokheli bayo, inkokheli engazidli kuba inkokheli, kodwa izigomba isifuba ngoba isisicaka sabantu, inkokheli engoyiki kwabantu, but the truth he stands for. Apho ithe yathetha khona, itsho ukuququzela izizwe emaxhegweni. Ndithetha ngenkokheli ethobekileyo, so down to earth, engaphakamanga, engenangxaki lonxiba igamboots, iphume imvula isina, ingena door to door, helping the people of this nation. Ndithetha ngenkokheli encama isitulo sayo eParliament ngoba ithi ikhola kuzibambela. Ngoba ikhola kuzibambela ngezayo izandla ingathumeli. Ayithi hashtag ndithuma nina, kodwa ithi hashtag I am your servant. I am here to serve you and not the other way around. Inkokheli esibonisileyo kuba leadership has no age but actions. They might say he is so young to lead this nation, but his action and character has made him a qualified leader. Ndithetha ngoDosini, uNqabashe, into engathi inkosi mntwini, ngoba inkosi ngokwayo, umongameli wethu Vuyo Sungula.
Umaskandi wethu uyangena ne? Umaskandi wethu uyangena ne?
Nganto engayibonanga lona mbisombuluka yinto ekhulu kunyathela kutsho kushukuma umhlaba ukucula ikohamba ucela imbedle ngekuyo yonke indawo ukucula ngumpheleki wempelo zethu yolonto ndithi masibuyele embo abafazi apha babesina bededelana ndithetha ngantoni na unju ATM unju ndencinci.
Mthatha. ATM Mthatha. ATM Mthatha. ATM Mthatha. Marcel. Hayibo, ke uwanchatini lo. Yeah. Awukhuphuke uchatini ibhesi kanti likhuphuka ngaka idumzela ngaka. Khuphuka uchatini ibhesi ukhuphuka ibhesi. Asasigigile phethe yena makhosha phethe yena uchatini. Khuphuka chatini man. ATM Mthatha. ATM Mthatha. ATM Mthatha. Kwezolimo usiphethe kahle singabantu abamnyama. Kwezolimo usiphethe kahle singabantu abamnyama. Kwezolimo usiphethe kahle singabantu abamnyama. Usiphethe kahle wesula. Kubeka njalo wesula. Usiphethe kahle wesula.
Thank you. Inkcubeko namagugu ethu ke la siwabona apha. Sisethetha ngenkcubeko namagugu ethu. Sicela utata umkhangazi kunye nosisigugu banyuke to give the response from the traditional leadership to imanifesto yethu. Sicela utata umkhangazi kunye nosisigugu kuzawuthetha bemnye. Sibahambisa bobabini kiba ngamawelewele ethu lawo. Bazawuphakanyiswa kwanguMasikhandi wethu kodwa ndizamisa nothi ingoma yakhe ibe ngathi inde nje. I'm sure niyaqalisa mos ngoku ngokubezayo ne. Ixesha is against us. Kanibanike ingoma yabo as utata umkhangazi nosisigugu are taking the podium for a response from the traditional leaders. Siyagqiba ngoku ndimamela ingoma ke into na ingathi izawuqala ingoma bawufika. Thank you. Ndiyabulela nje phambi kokuthi basibambisene kanje apha kule ngoma. Akho nto nzayithetha ndoda nasi ingoma nguwe lo. Kuphuka chatini apha ebhesi khona uzalencede ngapha. Hawu uyaqhwetha kancinci pha. Yemadoda. Kwanana le hlukumaza abafazi babantu. Iyasiqala ikhabathi ndalisuka kanina abanicala ngomsile ngiyanikhuza yekele ngencwasana abafazi babantu. Nje abafazi babantu wathini.
Peace in our land. Peace in our lifetime. Ndiyanibulisa. Ngelihle igama lenkosi. Ndisalinde ugxa wam ke esisebenza kodwa ndizawuqhuba andizomnxa ixesha. Kuthiwa ke masichaze indima esesiyidlalile malunga nenkosi. Kamnandi ndibulisa kakhulu i-ATM yonke lapha ndibulise utata wethu, our spiritual father, isigqeba president, andikwazi ungababulise noba ixesha lincane kangakanani kodwa ndizawuthi qabaqaba ngoba indima endizoyidlala imfutshane kakhulu. Siliphumile iphulo lokuhambela abantu abegazi, sikuyo i-Eastern Cape yonke, simane sigqabaza ke nakwezinye iprovince komaGauteng sithunywa i-ATM, sifumana ukwamkeleka ngendlela emangalisayo zinkosi, inkosi ngendlela ezisamkela ngayo okanye eziyamkela ngayo i-ATM iyamangalisa. Kamandi namhlanje njengoba nibona our spiritual father utata wethu uvela ezinkosini namhlanje njengoba nimbona efika late kule ndawo usuka ngapha eKhrizani kwakumcimbi wenkosi. Hayi inkosi enye, inkosi ezininzi, ichief, ikumkani ziphaya zonke. Namhlanje ke bezimmemela utata okokuba abe khona nangona ke bekhona isililo. Kodwa into esivuyisayo kuba utata ubona umsebenzi wethu esiwenzayo sikhushiwe ioffice yethu national okokuba masihambele inkosi. Sihambile ke ndaqabaqaba indawo ezimbalwa ngenxa yexesha. Siyile eMnquma sawenza umsebenzi uyasilandela ungaphezulu kwethu uCentane. Siyile kuGatyani siyawenza umsebenzi i7 zapha zonke ziyawazi lo msebenzi nithetha ngazo. Siyile eNyandeni siwenzile umsebenzi uyasilandela. Ukusilandela ke kukuba abantu nibabone bethatha membership, bethatha i-ATM beyilangazelela okweJerusalem entsha, bebuyelwa lithemba abantu nenkosi zakhona zinethemba kakhulu kwi-ATM. Siyile eKSD, siyile eAlfrenzo nakule viki sisuka kuyo bese Alfrenzo kummandla waseBizana naseFlagstaff. Siyile naseGauteng sesivela siyothetha nenkosi yaseGauteng zeControlesa. Into nawo ke ngelishwa namhlanje kuba besihambela umcimbi inkosi azibangakho kule ndawo because khona indlovukazi ewileyo zikule umicimbi ke. Ndizama ukuthi kwicala lenkosi sinyathelela phezulu futhi asibuyi imva siyaqhubeka. Asisasebenzeli ngole le local government phela sisebenzela no 2024 njengoba eshilo upresident okokubana masibe ngathi sinyathela ngamandla, siyanyathela. Bakhona kodwa bethu abanye utata uAfrika notata uTywaku bahamba ngapha ke bona kwela cala lingapha ngaseBhayi. Bagijima kakhulu nabo kwela cala lingapha kweza ndawo zingapha koSouth Apartment konke kwela cala lingapha bayasebenza kakhulu nabo. Asisodwanga nosisigugu. Sizama into ningabi nexhala, umsebenzi uyasilandela ngasemva. Qha into endingayiyaleza inye kuphela njengoba sigijima phambili thina siyacela i-subregion masilandele emva kwethu because thina singamavulandlela thina. Zona mazize emva kwethu zikhawulezile ngoba ixesha sekushiyeke only ngonana i-28 days sihambe siyovota siyacela kakhulu amavolunteer esubregion siyacela makamenze udoor to door angesabi uya kumakomkhulu uThixo sesihlakule kulindwe kuthina kuthiwa ayifiki i-ATM kudala siyilindile. So siyanicela kakhulu umyalezo sinawo kokokuba thina njengoba sivula indlela phambili then zonke i-subregions zase-OR Tambo amathole Alfrenzo masigijime yonke Eastern Cape masigijime ngendlela emangalisayo ngoba i-ATM abantu bayayilangazelela bayayifuna. Nkosini sikelele. Thank you.
Shesha msasa slinze lishibini kidami shesa kuba kaloku namhlanje owala wala khala khashwa makhasholo kwimilambo yamaharhabe kwimilambo kaloku esusa kaloku umzantsi kwimilambo enyukayo siphuma sisiye emantshana semantshona simampuma sisitsho sithi siphethe phezulu zingenile kaloku ipalamente namhlanje zithi siya koomasipala zingenile kaloku ipalamente sitsho sithi ziphethe inkosi ziphethe amagqirha ziphethe inkosi ziphethe amasilamsi amahindu ahlangene kaloku hlangene abambisene zonke kaloku zihlanganisene satsho sathi sibumbe inqindi sihlangene xa sinyandanye kaloku siza kuyinqoba le mpi isaqhubeka le ndlela. Sani lonke ma-Afrika mayibeke kaloku oba umkhulu mayibeke kaloku oba undlovu babe besitsho bayibona kade kusemhlophe abo besitsho besithi izawufika mabutho i-ATM izawuphakamisela isizwe phezulu zingeni nibe nenkukhu nibe neqhayiya ma-Afrika yizani hlanganelani. Sisobangela
siyabulela kakhulu. Bendicela all the servants that are roaming around, babuye bathathe indawo zabo zokuhlala. We've come to the end of our program and the start of the program. Iyaqala kaloku ngoku ngoba umnikazi theko nguye ngoku ozawumesa apha. Ndicela nizole benike nandinika umbono omhle uqala kwethu apha ndayiqonda uba this is ATM. Can I again have that level of discipline that we had when we started? Can I get that from you, servants? Peace in our land. Peace in our lifetime. Sizawunikezela ku-Chief Apostle azowuthetha nathi, that is our spiritual father, giving us the words of wisdom. Ngunqontsonqa wemini yethu le.
Mandibulise ku-President we-APC. Umbutho wokuqala owaphefumlelwa ngabapostile uMpostile Ndlovu noMpostile Hlatshwayo ukuze kube khona i-PAC omntana wayo i-APC. Lo mbutho mnye nalo. I-ATM ne-APC ne-PAC ne-ANC inye laa nto. I-ANC zange bekho icawe zingekho. I-ANC zange bekhona i-traditional leaders zingekho. Ngabaseki balento kuthiwa yi-ANC abo. Inkosi necawe. Ngenxa yokugqithizeka kwendlela kuba abelungu befuna ungena kule nkululeko ukuyikhontrola, kwaba khona ke i-ANC. I-ANC wahamba phambili i-mainline churches because abelungu bebesivele befuna ukuyikhontrola. Bekusuka ezintlanganisweni ngapha abapostile bethu e-old besuka kwi-ANC meeting babuye banqwale uMpostile Ndlovu apha ecaweni. Wade wabona uMpostile Ndlovu into yoba noMpostile Hlatshwayo sizawuphela ngabelungu abamane bengathi bazokukhulula abantu babuye bazosinyova apha ecaweni. Babona uba mabayinyove. Wahamba uMpostile Hlatshwayo waya utata uMangalisi Sobukwe. Wathi Sobukwe sikhona siza kubhekisha. Vula umbutho. Babe kwi-ANC bonke. Vula umbutho. Ongaziba nayo le poison yabelungu abamane besithuka silapha ecaweni. Kwavulwa lento kuthiwa i-PAC. Ispeech sokuqala se-PAC sabhalwa nguMpostile Hlatshwayo noMpostile Ndlovu esafundwa nguSobukwe. Ibali lam lithi akazange uMpostile Ndlovu alalo onwabe ngohlobo wayenobe ngalo mhla kwalontshwa i-PAC. So xa uthetha nge-PAC uthetha ngento yalapha ekhaya. Xa uthetha nge-APC uthetha ngento yalapha ekhaya. Umgade ke umuntu olapha ozawuthi akayifuni i-APC ayingowalapha lo muntu. Ukuba ungowalapha ngaphambi kokuba sirejistarishe njenge-ATM, just before sirejistarishe kwaba khona into okuthiwa kwathena down i-registration yethu as i-ATC, African Transformation Congress. Kwacabanga usekufutshane novoto. Sisajongana uba sizawuthini, abafa abafuni basingene kule nto. Saya kwi-APC. Sathi yabona nina ningaba kuthi nina. Simkile nje simkile. Asizuphinisela ivoti zethu pha. Sizawuvotela nina aba uba la madoda akasiniki intoni le party yethu. Saseke sine-agreement esigned naningekho nonke apha kwakukho mna. Hayi nonke naningekho. Umuntu owayekhona indim no SG lo no Dosin Lubomvu. Niyambona uDosin Lubomvu? Uphela ndimbona lo Dosin. Ukhona uDosin ndiyambona upresident le. Kodwa ukhona uDosin obomvu nanku uDosin ebomvu. Ezi zinto funeka nizazi. I-constitution sahlala phansi sayicrafta. Sinalomfo nabanye nale nkosi enkulu engapha. Ayibo, ukwephi icala kanti? Leyo kumane kuthiwa hayi le i-constitution kalento ka-ACE le abaphazapha. Naba abantu bale constitution balapha. Phambi kokuba sithetha ngegama sake sahlala salihlafuna uyalazi ba. Kuyafuna ulazi ke funda la ncwadi The Apostles ebhalwe kwanguye lo uza kuxelela imbali yakho. Ndizama ukuthi apha endleleni ningavumi uxabana. Ningavumi nento yoba nikrokelane. Hayi ningavumi ukrokelane. Ngeli xesha bekhona abafakwe ngaphakathi basenze isikrokelane. Siyabazi kodwa msanuvuma uthini ukrokelane. Apho siyakhona ngoku siya komasipala. And komasipala yenza mistake yongayifuni. Because ukuba anifuni ANC anizifuni nina. Xa nihlangene ne-ANC bahlonipheni. Hloniphani amalungu antoni e-ANC. Asebenzile. Into nayo ke ngoku adiniwe. Njengabazalwane bethu bawudinwa masibaphumze. Apha into esizoyenza sizophumza abazalwane bethu kwi-struggle. Ukwenzela into yoba baphinde batheni bakhokha amandla kuba ngoku badiniwe. Uyabona xa usebenza awudli. Xa usebenza awudli. Ukuba uyaphaka uphakela abanye abantu uyasebenza. Ukuba ngaba wenza loo nto uyenzayo uyasebenza awudli. Ingathi indoda ihlale phansi ithi mandidle. Ithi loo nto idiniwe. Awudli xa usebenza. Ngoku sizosebenza masingadli ke zisebenze. Masingadli masisebenze abantu badle. Njengoba sihamba nje singena door to door kufuneka nazi lento anihambi nodwa. Lento nihamba nayo aniyiboni. kodwa ihamba apha phambi kwenu. Andifuna uthetha kakhulu. Le manifesto ibekwe apha ngupresident. Uyibekele into basihambe soyihlafuna. Uke ndahlala apha ndathetha kakhulu, nawude nilibale ngayo, nicinge izinto ndizithethayo. Kodwa into endifuna uyithetha doseni, qhubeka kakuhle mntakwethu. Ubethe kamnandi, kwathi foto. Sonwaba nathi. Siyacela ke into yoba upresident lo we-APC, ongupresident wethu nathi, azasibulelele kubantwana bakhe. Athi kubo, siyabakhumbula. Xa sigqiba yonke lento, sizoba netheko lethu i-APC ne-ATM. Kaloku jonga, ngabantwana bam bonke aba. Ngoku kufuneka ndenze into enye. Andizukwazi mna ucelebrate ne-ATM ingacelebrate i-APC. Sizawucelebrate endaweni etheni enye. Sithethe ilanguage enjani enye. Sisherishelane ngezinto zonke. Ndiyabulela.
Asinawangcenga utsho kwavokotheka. Eyona mandla besiwalindile la. Umsebenzi upresident usinikile. Kodwa bekuyawuba nzima uphuma apha nalo msebenzi siwunikwa ngupresident no-SG. Singenamandla okuwuthwala. I think sonke ngokwamandla siwafumene. Ngalo mazwi ke ndiyabona ingathi uGaba sehleli phansi kodwa utata uTywaku akacinga anawuzahlale phansi. Utata uTywaku uzawundiphakamisela utata uDosini obomvu. Ivile into enjalo. Azowusenzela nje announcements zibe mbini. Then inkokheli zethu ze-South African Council of Messianic Churches zizowusivalela. Ndifuna uyicacisa ke lo mcimbi wokuvala. Xa sisithi inkokheli zethu mazizowusivalela, asithi mazokwenza ufefe. Zii-members ze-ATM, yi-foundation ye-ATM. Ndizama ukuthi ke bazali bam sikunika i-platform yozowusivalela. Le nto ilapha kuwe ngaphakathi iluzoyithetha, asikufaki ibhokisini yoba izomapha usenzela ufefe. Sifuna uva abazali bethu be-Council of Messianic Churches. Over to you, Tata uTywaku no Tata uDosini.
Hentawo esikuyo Telus kokele zungula Hentawo esikuyo Inezikebenga zingaka Hentawo esikuyo Inezikebenga zingaka Hentawo esikuyo Telus kokele zungula Hentawo esikuyo Telus kokele zungula Hentawo esikuyo Inezikebenga zingaka Hentawo esikuyo Inezikebenga zingaka Hentawo Akanilunge How you how can you look how can you look how can you look whoa 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 how can you look him is so pata hi man is so pata hi is so pata how can you look
Peace in our land. Peace in our lifetime. Just a few announcements before kuvalwe. The first announcement is just to talk about a list. Abantu kabangaziqhelanga ilist bayazothuka. I-list azike zibe perfect. I-list uyafumanisa uba sifake abantu kwi-list. Xa sezibuya ezinye zibuya bengenazo. Sabakhupha abanye zathi xa zibuya zabuya zinabo abasibakhuphileyo. What I can say, we're still going to raise this with the IEC because we noticed that there are a number of people besibafake ezilistini abangaveliyo. We don't know what happened. But even if, because the chances that the IEC is not going to change that. Abantu mabangafilishi bad, there are still opportunities moving forward. Say we'll live with, as councillors nazo, we've got ward councillors as is registered as 2,340 something, you see. And then in total, we've registered as kwazileyo to go through. Zibe pako 5,303. So I'm trying to say, at least magasibulele lonto leyo, even noba nama ngenanga benifuna ungena. So iyenzeka lo mistake leyo. Siyamkele la mistake. Asifuna i-situation yabantu abathi abazucampaigna because i-list ayihambanga ngolu hlobo bafuna uhamba. Campaignela aba bakhoyo ukwenzela into kokuba i-list ihambe kakuhle. I must also mention that i-list zethu, it has got a number of young people about 19 years. 19 years and above, 19 years a lot. I-list perfect. I-list yaseLimpopo. 50% women, 50% men. Zonke ezinye ke nazo azikho bad. Zithi 51, 49, something like that. I-list inoke notata abaliqela yaseMpumalanga nayo, not that much. Into nayo besesijonge nje ezinye uba zihamba ngolo hlobo. So I'm trying to say that i-list zethu, to me, they are very perfect i-list zethu. Noba kukho abanye abantu abangangenanga, we're still going to engage with IEC. But this problem here, abantu abangangenanga as listing, is not only for us, even for other political parties. You can imagine Action South Africa elidishwa ngumashaba. Umashaba akekho elistini yena. Lo befaka abanye ezilistini. Akekho, it just shows ukuba kukhona into ezingahambanga kakuhle. Kodwa ke nizama ukuthi sibulela kakhulu, sibulela kutata uba eze apha because it's very important le nto le, because to us it's not just about a rally, it's about a prayer towards election. Indlela ezizaba zizo, le vibe siyibona apha, yi-vibe esibonakalisa uba kuza kwenzeka ntoni. It's like uba siyanqoba as elections, sesithi ngoku siyanqoba. So sawudibana ke ngoku emva elections, not ne-candidates, sabe sidibana ne-councillors. Abantu babe ready. U-SG uthende igqithise le nto le, 2 days after the announcement of elections, there's going to be a workshop, about 3 to 4 days workshop. Ezabe workshop aba bantu kuthiwa zii-councillors. Wenzela uba babefika phayana bafike beyi-understand. And towards the end of the elections again, kuzawunyanzeleka uba uspiritual head ibe nguye ozawukhupha ilizwi elizabe lithuma aba bantu uba mabaye koomasipala. We don't expect, xa singenzanga kakuhle, we are expecting just about 3,000, 3,500 xa singenzanga kakuhle candidates. And bazomeya bendixelela omnye apha ndimxelela ngento yoba kuzawufuneka xa kukho imihlangano enjengabalungisa itafile ngoba oomeya bethu bazawuba baninzi kakhulu, so kuzawufuna bene itafile yabo andazi bazenza njani. Funeka kubekho itafile yoomeya, izabe ngootata phayana mhlawumbi beyi-50 yoomeya, nangapha kukho abanye abayi-50 nakhona. So andazi uba nizadila njani nale nto yomeya, because umeya kwawufika kwakhe phaa uzawufika eme alindele uba makayothathwa aziswe apha, akakwazi uzidambela. So andiyazi uba nizawudila njani naloo nto leyo, kodwa ke ndilungiselela uba ningothuki xa sekukho meya nendlela abaphathwa ngayo nendlela abatrithwa ngayo. The last one, Judge, we want to announce tomorrow in the same venue, we'll be having a church service for the TACC. A church service for the TACC Zimbabwe. This will be hosted by TACC Zimbabwe. Let's service. So those who want to refresh themselves emphefumulweni ukwenzela uba bangene kule campaign, they can come. Everybody is allowed. By 9 o'clock, everybody must be seated by 9 o'clock. It's not going to be a long service. By 9 o'clock, everybody must be seated here. We are going to be very strict. Nakule nto social distancing mhlawumbe singaba strict kancinci, not kakhulu. Yavuya ke ngoba apha tata, I just want to declare, ezitulo zibona apha sikomplayile. Ezitulo zilapha, I think zilapha ko-300 esizifaka apha ngaphakathi ententeni. So si-overcomplyile apha kakhulu. So I think abantu abalapha about 300. Qinisekile uba siwubambile umthetho abantu abalapha bayi-300. Enkosi kakhulu.
Servants, siyabulela kakhulu. Masingabi sadla ixesha. I'm going to call upon the leadership of the South African Council of Messianic Churches to actually bless us. Basivalele. Ndifihle nqaba yami, ndifihle kuwe, ndifihle nqaba yami, ndifihle kuwe, ndifihle nqaba yami. Ndifihle ku ngoba lenzela hiname, lenzela hiyenyuka, ndifihle nqaba
Amen. Yeah. Kuyacaca kuyabonakala into yoba enyanisweni i-ATM le izalwa inkonzo okanye ngamabandla. Ndibulisa umongameli we-APC
Ndibulise nomongameli lo wethu we-ATM. Siyavuya enyanisweni into yoba sibe sifumana impendulo. Kuba wathi xa ethetha kwindawo ethetha kuyo umongameli wethu, wathi uThixo uphendule. Uyazazi uba wayethetha phi, yena okanye unokhumbula kwezi ndawo zeli cala laselibode. Wathi uThixo uphendule. Enyanisweni kona malungu ethu ndiyanibulisa. Ndibulisa ngovuyo lokuba enyanisweni uThixo uphendule. Kule mihla yokugqibela. Kuba njengoba singamalungu amabandla ethu, akubanga lula into yoba silandele nantoni. Kodwa siye sabona into yoba uThixo ngoku kule mihla uyaphendula, uphendule nge-ATM. Loo nto ithetha ukuthi thina neenkokheli esinazo emabandleni nakwibandla endikulo sizosapota yonke. Ndithe xa bendiyithetha le nto kwinkokheli yam, ndafumanisa into yoba siyevana, futhi ndaqonda into yoba inomdla woba ive. Ndanethuba loba enyanisweni ndithethe nayo efowunini, kodwa ndizawuthetha nayo sihleli phantsi. Ndivuyiswa kukuba nenkokheli le i-spiritual father esi SACMC, i-spiritual father sethu. I-spiritual father sethu CSACMCC. Sinamazwi endiqondayo into yoba enyanisweni kwawuqala ukuva sithetha. Ndasiva into yokuba sithethiswa nguThixo. Kuba kwintetho yaso uqala kwam ukusiva ndisiva apha sikule holo. Sathetha sicaphula eBhayibhileni. Ndaqonda kakuhle into yoba yinkokheli efana into yoba enyanisweni siyimamele sive. Nanjengoba nathi sibona into yoba ithi ingumseki wayo, futhi iyancoma nepresident le yethu e-ATM indlela ethethe ngayo. Ithetha ukuthi loo nto uThixo usinike inkokheli bandla. Sibambe kakhulu, sibambisise, sithandaza ngazo inkokheli ezi asinike zona. uThixo asincede ngazo ukuze ahlale ezixhobisa ngezinto zokuthi somelele endleleni. Njengoba enyanisweni kona ndenza into endiqondayo into yoba nam andiyazi into endiyenzayo, kuba ndithe ndingelolungu nalungu laloo komiti yelaa cala lala wodi yethu, kodwa ndazimisela into yoba ndibe yivolontiya yongena indlu nendlu ndisithi uvile na nge-ATM. Ndabajoyinisa ngangangoko, kangangoba baninzi abajoyine kum. Ndincedwa ngulo Thixo athi uTata uNongqunga uhamba phambi kwethu. Ngoba ndenzela into yoba ize nibe namandla okuhamba nisazi uba utshilo uTata uNongqunga ukuthi uThixo esihamba naye uhamba phambi kwethu. Funeka sibe namandla okuqhubeka ke siwenze umsebenzi lo sele esinike wona upresident. Enkosi. Ndicinga uba bendizokwenza umthandazo. Ngoku ndizawuvandazo uyandivumela umama uMC. Ndicela sithandaze. Bawo unguThixo wezinto ezinqabileyo. Izinto ezinqabileyo uzibekele bonke abakuthandayo. Benzeni yonke ukuphila kwethu emhlabeni ukuze ihlabathi likwazi unguThixo onceda ngoba wena wedwa unguThixo ongabonke abantu bangafikelela kuyazini inyaniso. Siyabulela bawo, sikelela umsebenzi wakho emihleni yonke egameni lenkosi yethu nguYesu Kristu umsindisi wethu. Ubaba lenkosi yethu, ubudlelwane bomoya ingcwele, uthando lukaThixo luhlale enhlizweni zethu ngokwade abuye uKristu Yesu. Amen.
Masenzeni kanje leaders, masenzeni kanjena. Ukuhlala phansi kungakunceda. Our marshals are opening for leadership yethu ukuthi ikwazi uphuma. Ngexesha baphumayo, ba upresident I think ungamjoina utata nisele niphuma. Nasi saziso iPR candidate